Hello and welcome to Winter Grace Senior Ministries. I'm Debbie Bergio. One of the most difficult challenges we can face as we or a loved one age is seeing cognitive decline. Oftentimes it becomes necessary and best for our loved one to be living in a place that focuses specifically on caring for those with memory issues. We are joined today by Melanie Dans of Somerford Place in Columbia, Maryland. Melanie, we are so glad you're here with us to share with us what Somerford Place has to offer and about memory care in general. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
Well, please share about Somerford Place and the memory care. I know you are a very unique place. I can cut this out. Cut. Okay, take two. Melanie, we're so glad that you're here with us today.
Oh, thank you so very much for inviting me.
We know that Somerford Place is set apart a bit in the memory care section of Columbia, and we'd love to hear more about what sets you apart.
Well, what sets us apart, first of all, is the fact that we're built from the ground up. Scientifically, 20 years ago, Dr. Camp invented these buildings so that people that have Alzheimer's and dementia can live in contentment. There's a lot of bells and whistles that we have to do inside of the building, but the building's actually, the way it's built is also a way to help them when they come in. So what sets us apart also is that we oftentimes are there to be able to help other places that have memory care that cannot handle to the degree that we can. So we're able to take them and bring them into our community and be able to work with them. And the reasons behind that are, you know, a daily thing for someone with dementia and Alzheimer's. They have got to be socialized constantly. And that's what people bring them here for. And even during COVID, we ended up having a lot of people move in here because they were at other places with memory care that were not able to socialize them because they didn't understand the importance of making sure that they got a lot of socialization. And that is why the decline actually unfortunately started to happen with their loved one. So we brought them over here, and now they're actually starting to sprout like a butterfly because now they feel, first of all, the people here are like them. If you have someone around other people that don't have dementia and Alzheimer's, their dignity goes down because people will say things like, "Oh, stop repeating yourself," and that is a deep-rooted dignity hurt. And so what will happen to someone that if they are in a assisted living and they haven't been given to memory care yet, that will cause them to go into their apartment and not want to come out again. And that is the worst thing that could happen. So what we do at Somerford Place is we make it and we cue people to come out of their rooms. Our rooms are not large. We don't want them spending a lot of time in their rooms. We want them out every single day. We got them socialized. The program we use is the Bridge to Rediscovery. And every single day we work with the cognitive, the group, the motor skills, the sensorial, and purpose. And these are the things that help them to actually stay in a contented state, but also to keep them well engaged. Mm-hmm. And so then they thrive, which is the big thing. We want them to eat and drink. We want them to be healthy. So how do we do all of this? You know, the building's great. That's another story for another time. Too many things to talk about that. But having the best crew. We have a team people here. We call ourselves the happiest family because we truly, really care about each other, and we know the importance of what each other has to bring to taking care of these wonderful, wonderful people. So we work together as a heartbeat, and we got the highest rating this year in the region for employee satisfaction and also for engagement, and we rated very high in the United States. And that was hard work. I mean, it's hard work to do that, mm-hmm. But what we want to see every day is our employees coming in the building and smiling and happy to come in and actually get involved in their day. And that is what we see, and that's what we work at. And that takes a lot of loving and a lot of, acknowledgement and a lot of communication. But that's what we do, because we know in a place like Somerford Place, we have got to have it down when it comes to not just our residents, but our families are even more sensitive, because we've got people that are hurting. They know what's going on when the residents don't. And so there's a lot of pain involved. So we have to be there to hold their hands as they walk down that pathway with their loved ones. And that is a big engagement for us as well. I mean, that's a big responsibility. If it's not enough, we want to be responsible to keep their family very safe. During COVID, the county had said we'd done such an admirable job with what we were, what we were dealt and how we handled it so quickly. So we were really proud of that. But we are now ready to take on COVID again, because we have learned so much during that time. So if it hit us, we would know exactly what to do and squelch it really quickly. But so that is what makes us, the pebbles in the brook saying here. People talk about us all the time and say what wonderful people we are and how they feel at home here. That is what we want, because home is not a place. Home is a feeling. So thank you, Debbie. I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate all that you've shared. You mentioned the building, and you said that could be a whole nother conversation, but can you give us a little bit, just a little insight into specifically about what you're building, how it's special in memory care?
Well, if I must.
If you must, yes.
I love talking about our building. Well, first of all, when you first come in the building, you'll have, when you walk through the front door, there's an office area. And we actually took 3 months to find our receptionist replacement. The one we'd had before was with us for 30 years or something. But we are particularly picky about our receptionists, because they're the ones that see our families coming in first and see them going out last. And so we just put in place, a few months ago, one of the best receptionists we could ever want or need, because she catches the needs of people really quickly. So we're all very thrilled about the fact that we have that, in line. But also what happens when you walk in is, as you're going down the hallway, it's kind of a, dim, but relaxing, office area, where when you first walk in, the entryway. But here you go. If you remember the Wizard of Oz, and when the house is going around and it's black and white, and then it lands, and then they open up the door and all the color and brightness, and you hear do 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 do. Well, that's what it's like when you walk into the house, because it's bright, cheerful, happy. When you first walk in, it's very, very happy, and it makes people happy when they come in. But when you walk in, there's a circle that goes around. And that is a place that they are able to walk around, especially during a sundowning period of time, where it helps to get the aggravation down. And so in the wintertime, they especially use that, because they can't get outside when the weather is inclement. But attached to that circle is 4 houses. And each house has different siding. And each house has different decorations on the siding. And each house has a different, a station on either side of the house, things that they could pick up and walk around with or use, usually old-fashioned things. And so the reason we do that, first of all, with the Bridge to Rediscovery, with the sensorial part, we want them to be able to pick things up and touch them and feel them. But the other reason is, when you walk up to the house, you might say, oh, this is my house. Oh, good, it's a queue. My house has brick. This is my house. Or you might say, oh, I know this is my house because there's white flowers on this house. Or you might walk up and say, oh, I recognize there's 2 tables on either side of it. This is my house. We do several cues around each house for dignity and independence. And those are the 2 things we fight for every day for them, so that they know, okay, this is my house, and then they go in. Now, what we've done with their room is we have what's called a memory box out front of it. And what we do is we put we have the families bring in things that'll really make them happy when they see that box. But what it is, it's a cue, so that they can actually find their room, and they don't have to ask someone, because that hurts their dignity when they have to ask any of those kind of questions, because then they feel stupid. So that helps them do that. When they come into the house, now, we have a living room and a dining room and a kitchen. And in each house, we have 16 people in there. So they're actually, that's their home together. Here's the beauty. They can leave the house anytime they want and go to other people's houses because we're not telling them no. We're not telling them you can't do that. We're not telling them you can't pick that up. We're not telling them all those things that have hurt their dignity through the time when they were not here because people had to watch out for them. And so they had no other choice but to tell them that. But here we don't have to do that. So when they come back in, we want, instead of having them sit in their room and watch TV, we'd rather them sit in the living room because in the living room, now they're going to be using the Bridge to Rediscovery things. They'll be in a group, other people are in there. They're using their cognitive. They might be watching the TV up there. And then, you know, they're watching people walk across the room, maybe a nurse going in to give medicine to somebody, but it keeps their mind stimulated. Same thing with the dining room. Now, here's a piece of science for you. Picture that you can't pick up, you can't remember to pick up your fork. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll take that person so that we don't have to hurt their dignity, and we'll put 3 people around them that do remember still how to pick up their fork. So that when that person's sitting there, they're looking at the other people and they're going, oh, they're using that. Oh, okay. And so then they use their fork and they're eating. Well, again, at all expense, we try to spare their dignity so that they're able to, you know, eat the fork. Now, when they start to get to a place where they can't eat with the fork anymore, we use something called finger foods. And what we do is we make these delicious, we're trying to get better at them even, making more and more foods that they can pick them up and they can eat them rather than picking the food off their plate and putting it in their face like that. We want them to be dignified and be able to have the food that they can pick up. Here's the caveat. People complain, they say, my mom went to a skilled nursing facility, or my mom just came from the hospital and my mom didn't eat anything, and they think she might be, you know, that she might be need to go to hospice. Well, here's the thing. I understand what's going on. They don't have their taste buds at this point are not that functioning. So we aren't regular chefs over here at Somerford Place. We have to have specialty dementia chefs that come in here because our chefs will make food, not with salt because it'll bloat them up, but you can swear there's salt in it, but they don't have any. And they have all these ingredients in it that scintillate the mouth and the taste buds so that they want to eat. Because if someone doesn't taste something, they're not going to eat. But that's why when we give them this and they taste it, they're like, oh yeah, and then they want to eat it. So when they come here, they start eating so much, like, well, she wasn't eating at the hospital. I don't get it. Why is she eating here? That's why. Because they have to be able to taste what they're eating or they're not going to eat it. What's the point? In their mind, it's like, what's the point of having this if there's nothing? Because they're not thinking straight all the time. They're not like, oh, I like to eat food, I'm going to go eat food. They're just, people are giving them food and they feel like this is what they have to do. So that is how the kitchen area works. And then, you know, the caregivers try to give them as much dignifying time by themselves, but have to, you know, catch in with them, you know, keep up and see where they're at and what they're doing. And people that can walk can go outside because we have many, we have the largest outside area for people to go. I mean, great big long pathways and things that they can go to. And I mean, one time we had a motorcycle gang come in one gate and come all the way up and go across the back, right where everybody's sitting in the back area where we have all of our tables and chairs and everything. And they're gnarly. I mean, you know, they have all these things up and down their arms, you know, these all these marks and everything. And they got a girl on the back and they're like, oh, you know, and they come in and they get off their bike and they come up and they go, hey, Toots, let's get a photo together. Oh my gosh, they went nuts. The crowd went wild. This is the kind of stuff we like to do. We like to do things that just make them have belly laughs, make them have a great time, because overall our theme here is we want people to come here to live, not come here to die, because we want their last journey to be that of belly laughs and happiness and joy and family. We always invite family to everything because family is an important part here. So within this science building, we always invite, unless it's COVID, we invite our families to be a part of everything as well, because overall, the function that we all do is we take care of the residents, but involved in all that, we all get very, very close and we become a huge family. So oftentimes people will come back, family members, and they'll help work with us and volunteer because they're always family once they come here. And that's what we want to leave behind. And we want a memory of mom and dad or their husband or their wife. We want them to leave and to say, you know, this is the best place I could have brought them. I'm glad they had a good rest of their life. And that's what we try to do here.
Wow, Melon, your passion and enthusiasm has got to be contagious with the rest of the staff. And it's just beautiful. And I love that living with the dignity and independence and joy and belly laughs. I mean, what more can we ask for our loved ones in such a difficult situation, and making the most of a challenging time, but respecting the individual. That's fantastic. I want to ask you one more question, because I know you have a fabulous activities director.
Yes.
And I was wondering if you could share maybe just a taste of what are some of the activities that she does, and that would be great.
Judy Beyer is an anomaly. She is, I think we have the best person for bridge to rediscovery in the universe here. And she's got a good reputation. She's a social worker. Judy rated in, we had a thing done on all the employees on where we rated and what our high points were. Her number one point was positivity. And it was so cool because Judy, you don't ever see any, it's something, I'll watch something negative happen and she'll go, oh, okay, well, and then she moves on. That is perfect in this scenario, because with her positivity, she's constantly spreading that to all of our families out there and all of our residents, and everybody feels so important. But Judy's theory is this: we have the Bridge to Rediscovery activities and all the things that we do, but we also, when we bring somebody in, they have to fill out several pages on their loved one, because we want to know everything, but we're afraid to ask about them, because Judy will then take that information and she'll go brag on them. Do you know that Mr. Doe used to be an engineer, and not just any engineer? And so Mr. Doe's sitting there like, well, yeah, I guess I was, But because so many times people with dementia feel like people forgot who they are. We want to reimagine them. We want to redevelop. We want to come and say, we know who you are. We have not forgotten who you are. You're important to us. Judy is spectacular at doing that. And then she does a lot of activities that are not only fun. This summer we did Camp Somerford, and oh my gosh, it was hysterical. We were even doing like this thing where we were pretending we were doing riding in a boat, with one of those like oars things. Oh, it was hysterical. And they had s'mores, and they sang campfire songs, and they had so much fun. But another thing that Judy does is with the Bridge to Rediscovery, she might give them a job, like put down 3 different colors of rubber bands and say, or put them in one big pile and say, can you divide away and make take the yellow over here, the green over here, and the purple over here, because they're all in a big mess. And so they've been given a job. So, they have a purpose. I've been asked to do something. There you go. That's one of the 5 things. So then they're picking it up while they're feeling it. Oh, it's got a kind of a rubbery texture to it. Oh, that's kind of cool. Oh, it stretches. So they're going through the sensorial motor skills. Hey, look they're getting a little exercise while they're doing that, and they're moving around doing all of these things. And then usually there's other people at other tables doing similar things. So you have your group people around that you can watch and see what they're doing. And then they have to use their mind to figure out how they're going to do the separation of everything. So this is the kind of stuff that Judy comes up with. It's unbelievable. But not just that, we've done the what do you call it? We had a Broadway thing, or how you go and you have like the red carpet, and everybody had to come in dressed up all spectacular. And last year, I think my favorite event, and I was part of this one because I really wanted this one bad, for Valentine's Day. We got all of our spouses together, and the ones that were here, and then with the ones that families came in, and we had the table set up for every one of them. It was like a romantic restaurant. And we had candles, but no candlelight, obviously. And we had wine, but not real wine, all over all this stuff. And then we had some friends that came in and helped us. And what we did is we waited on them, had our little thing over, our little white cloth over our arm. We waited on them hand and foot. But before they even came in for their dinner, we had a red carpet for them to walk down, and we blew bubbles over them as they walked down the red carpet, and then they kissed in the middle, and then they went to their table. And then we went and we all waited on them. It was a 5-course meal. And then while they were eating, Judy went around and asked each of the couples, there was a lot of them too. We had a lot of couples, how did you guys meet? So after all of that was over and the dessert was served, Judy went up and told everybody how everybody met. And it was the funnest. I mean, some couple met in Bangkok. I mean, it was so cool, some of the things that we learned, but we learned more about, you know, who our residents were. But this is the thing, you know, if something were to happen this year to their spouse, what memory would they have for the next Valentine's? They'll remember how beautiful, how romantic, and how sweet their Valentine's was. These are some of the things that we try to do. We try to recapture some of those things. At Thanksgiving, we do the same thing, not on Thanksgiving because we want them to be able to go home if they want. And Christmas, the same thing. We give them gifts. We do all the things that you do because we want to recapture, you know, each of these things so that they feel that this is their family here, and that they feel engaged and they feel loved and they feel accepted, they feel independent, and they have lots of good dignity.
Wow. And that is just so inspiring. I'm so happy to get to share what you do there with everybody, because I think it's a place of hope and encouragement and joy. And those are not words we usually think of when we think about memory care.
Absolutely.
And how precious, how fantastic. Melanie, I can't thank you enough and Somerford Place for being a part of our event. And I know all the information to contact you and everything is on the page below where this interview is, and testimonials and a virtual tour and all those kinds of things. And I know you're happy to receive phone calls with questions and inquiries. I just thank you so much. It looks like you're frozen, Melanie. Oh no. Thank you, Melanie.